You know, this last Sunday of the year is a wonderful time to celebrate the Feast of the Holy Family, because it's a time for us to reflect. As individuals and as families, it's a time for us to reflect on the year just about to end, to reflect on all our successes and failures, our times of joy and sadness, and then to look ahead with hope and expectation to the possibilities of the coming year. And what's really great about this feast is it's about something to which we can readily relate. It's not theological, it's not doctrinal, it's about the real stuff that you and I have to deal with every single day of the year. Because when we celebrate the Holy Family of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, we also celebrate our own families. This week will bring us to the end of that grand holiday bash that really starts with Thanksgiving and goes practically non-stop through New Year's Day. It's a time of parties, it's a time of joyful songs, television stories that have happy endings. It's a time when we want everything to be okay. And sometimes to make it okay, we idealize our families. We try to wish them into something they are not. And yet we know all too often that families fail to live up to that hallmark card image glowing softly in our imaginations. Our families are not perfect. And frankly, some are even a little messy. Many families have been struck by tragedy this year, some over which they have no control, like the death of a loved one, or the pain and anguish of illness or the loss of a job. Others have experienced tragedies that were the direct result of someone in that family not doing whatever was necessary to make family work. Things like separation and divorce, alienation and infidelity. You know, there's an old adage that says it takes a heap of living to make a house a home. And it takes everyone working together to make that group of people that are related to each other through blood or marriage into a family. You know, one wonders how different those situations could be if every member of the family had listened to the admonitions of St. Paul in our second reading today, when he tells us to put on compassion and kindness and humility and gentleness and patience and forgiveness, and most of all, love. How many tragedies could have been avoided if these virtues had been practiced? Historically, the Church has given us the Holy Family as a model for Christian living, and yet this model doesn't work for some of us because we reason, well, first of all, Jesus was the Son of God. Mary was born without original sin, and Joseph had to be a saint to be able to deal with everything thrown at him. How can we possibly be like them? And we forget that the three of them, including Jesus, were human, just as human as we are. Theirs was a real family, a family that experienced many of the same challenges we experience. You know, at the beginning, there was talk of divorce because of Mary's pregnancy. There was also a housing problem. There was no room in the inn. We tend to romanticize the setting, but what mother-to-be wants her child to be born in a stable or laid in a manger? And then shortly after the baby was born, a new crisis occurred. King Herod regarded Jesus as a threat to his political security and wanted him killed. And so they had to flee to a strange land where they were strangers and aliens. And look at the gospel story today. We're given a rather bland description of Mary and Joseph's reaction when they finally find Jesus after searching for him for 3 days. Luke says when his parents saw him, they were astonished. And his mother said to him, "Son, why have you done this to us? Your father and I have been looking for you with great anxiety." That doesn't even begin to give us a sense of what Mary and Joseph must have been experiencing. Have you ever lost track of one of your children at the mall or at a ball game or some other public event, even for just a few minutes? I have. And I know the feelings of panic that I experienced. And I suspect that Mary and Joseph were experiencing those same feelings and emotions, and then some, during those 3 long days when they were searching for their son. This was a real human family. Luke tells us that Jesus advanced in wisdom and age and favor before God and man. Mary and Joseph, no doubt, had significant influence on the development of Jesus' personality traits, on his feelings, his hopes, his aspirations, by the training and interaction they provided in their home. And so we can draw from what little we know about this family to guide us in our own lives. Our own celebration today calls us to follow the model of the Holy Family. It calls us to live the principles St. Paul spoke of in his letter to the Colossians. It calls us to stop focusing on our own interests and feelings and self-fulfillment, and to focus on those individuals God has given to us as family. Perhaps one of the most pressing needs of our times is for families to deliberately and intentionally strive toward being a holy family. Now, being holy doesn't mean being perfect. It doesn't mean there won't be difficulties or tensions. But it does mean that there has to be a willingness to grow. A willingness to grow in our ability to care for, to forgive, to love, to teach, and to admonish one another. Because you see, holy families don't just happen. They are something we consciously create by every person working together and persisting through the tough times. My brothers and sisters, God gave us our families as a gift, as a legacy. We're called to love our family, to cherish it, and to constantly build it up, to make it holy, even if it is imperfect and messy.